Hey, thanks for having me over today. Appreciate it. You know, like I was telling you on the phone, 8 out of every 10 of the deals that we do, it's via referral. So Brian linking us up together,
Absolutely.
Definitely a big help. And you know, throughout the process, at different times, I may reach out to you and say, hey, when you hear about somebody in the market to buy or sell, keep me in mind, especially if you're happy with the level of service that you're getting.
Absolutely will.
Appreciate it. So first things first, most everybody wonders, hey, what are you going to do to sell my home? Regardless of who you are, you're in my house to talk about selling my house. How are we going to be prepared? What do we need to talk about today? You know, how is this whole experience going to go? Pretty standard overall.
Makes sense to me.
So the biggest thing that I do is I try to make sure that we do something called preparing for battle. Preparing for battle is really thinking about your house as insensitive as it sounds, thinking about your house more as an asset than a place where you have so many great memories, even though I know you do. But we want to try to think more like a buyer than an owner at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to help you prepare for battle by doing a walkthrough with you today. I'll take some notes, some pictures, and then within 4 to 8 hours of today's meeting, provided you see the value in moving forward with me in Hometown, I'll go ahead and put that battle plan in front of you so we can get to work and start getting it sorted out there. If you need recommendations for repairs, no problem there. I can link you up with any of my affiliates. We can even do a staging consultation. If we walk through today and you're just not sure that where your furniture's placed and stuff like that is the best place for it, or if we agree together that the market might like it a lot better in a different version or something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fair enough. Anything from there, it ties more into the why behind this. So like we were talking on the phone, I know you're moving into temporary living, so there's no contingency hanging over your head, which is really good in this market. Having to sell a house, having to make sure we had profits from that house before you could move forward on the next, that could really rear its ugly head. So it's good to not have that hanging over. But the big thing, preparing for battle is great, but the biggest piece of the puzzle, hands down, is price, right? So, you know, in doing the research and based on the experience that I've got in Cedar Lee, based on what I'm seeing, most everything is selling somewhere between $300,000 and $330,000. With homes like yours selling probably between $315,000 and $325,000. Okay. So if we were in that range, based on the conversations you've had with other people, do you feel like we'd be priced properly? Would we be making your family happy?
I think that's what we thought, if not a little better.
Sure. All right. And the big thing is, hard for me to come in today with like the price, right? I kind of want to share a brain with you. I want to get to know your house the way you know it, the good and the bad. But I also want to build value everywhere that we can. So if we end up at that $325,000 or even north of that price point, it's justified and we know we can go in guns blazing.
Makes sense.
So if we price $315,000 to $325,000, we feel good about that. The next step is going to be, hey, let's think about the battle plan as not a honey-do list, but a list of suggested items where you almost think, hey, if I'm going to put my best foot forward, if I want top dollar from the market, I really do need to complete as many of these suggested items as possible. But I'm looking at your house, again, as insensitive as it sounds, I'm looking at it as an asset, an object, and it's an asset that we want to cash in on. So everything we need to do to cater to the HGTV generation, you know, we're going to try to do that with that battle plan. As far as marketing goes, though, I think that's probably the next important piece of the puzzle. 8 out of every 10 buyers start their home search online. So we want to be well represented online, but how are you going to do that? I pay to be a member of a website called ListHub. So when we list your property, it's going to go to over 1,400 websites within 24 hours. Oh. The idea is, hey, they Google your address. They heard your house is on the market. They Google your address. We are all they see for the first 2 pages. But what they see is important too, right? The exposure means nothing if what they're exposed to looks terrible. Absolutely. So, of course, you know, professional photo shoot, a house that's your size, that has some of the features that I'm seeing so far, I think a virtual tour would be a good idea too. We do a nice HD virtual tour. But what we do to try to take it a step further is we market to buyers, not shoppers. And that might sound a little weird, but I'm a huge fan of giving people as much information as we can up front so that when they come in, it's more of a verification than hey, let's looky-loo and see if it's something that we like.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
We do that by associating the virtual tour with a QR code. We take the QR code, we put it on the flyer that we put by the road. So if somebody comes to grab a flyer, instead of seeing 4 of the best pictures we could possibly muster up, they can take a whole tour of the house from the front of your house. And if they call for a showing after that, I feel like our chances of them loving your home go up exponentially because they already know so much about it.
Right, yeah.
So kind of fishing with the right bait there. Another thing we do is when it comes to the MLS listing, so you've got professional photography, you've got a virtual tour. That's all great. That's the visual side of it. But the wording matters too. So maximizing every section, even down to the 1,400 characters that are allowed in the remarks section. Why put 200 characters when you can put 1,400 characters? We're trying to build as much value as possible. So even those details, you can kind of count on us to take care of those. The one benefit that you hear about with realtors, even though we have Zillow now, is MLS, the multiple listing service. So in MLS, of course, when we list your home, we're going to be able to research the neighborhood, research the competition, but one thing we can do is called reverse prospecting. We can take your address and we can find all of those buyers out there that have realtors that are interested in a product like yours. And the first thing we do in the first week is try to get some voice-to-voice time with those folks. Hopefully set up some showings, but it's a good first step. From there, your networking, your social media exposure. We've got a full-time marketing coordinator. I've got a full-time transaction coordinator. So we're well-staffed. Biggest complaint people have with realtors is the vow of silence when they don't really have anything good to say. So maybe you don't hear from me every day, but you're going to hear from somebody on my staff, if not every day, every other day, keeping you in the loop.
Right.
So we're well represented. We're on the internet. We've got a great MLS listing. We're marketing your home. How does the feedback process go? How do people schedule showings? Typically, they do it electronically now. Everything is done through showing time. So we receive those notifications. If you want, you can receive them at the exact same time. So somebody requests a showing via showing time, you and I get a notification along with my transaction coordinator all simultaneously.
Okay.
Good way to keep you in the loop on what's going on.
Right.
Same thing for feedback. Feedback's a little trickier though. The big thing with feedback is there's a lot of new realtors right now, and that's great. However, they don't see the value if they show 12 houses and calling 12 agents back and letting them know what their buyers thought. So we're going to make 4 attempts to get that feedback. In the event that we haven't heard anything at that point, I don't want to say we assume the worst, we just assume that they're not interested.
Right.
But we are going to make those 4 attempts no matter what. For day-to-day, you may be talking with Whitney. Whitney's my transaction coordinator. She's going to be the one to confirm those showings. She's going to be the one to call for that feedback. But no matter what, Andy, you and I are going to download together once a week without fail. Even if I've got to come to you with my dukes up, not really much good to say, but just to let you know that we're working hard for you. Again, the biggest complaint people have is that unofficial vow of silence when the realtor just doesn't have anything good to say.
Yeah.
Any questions so far based on what we've talked about?
Makes a lot of sense, pretty thorough.
Right on, good stuff. So based on what you were saying, with moving into the apartment, we probably need to get your house on the market, I would say in the next 30 days, provided that you're okay with that.
Yeah, I think we want to move forward and do it pretty quickly.
Nice. With that being said, I'll have the battle plan to you within 2 days. I do want to briefly let you look at a format so that when you get it in front of you, you realize, hey, again, it's not a honey-do list, but it is something that's going to help us put our best foot forward. So you can see that it's going to point out all of the positive aspects on your home. Really easy to fill in the blanks there. You've got a nice house. I hate to say that we don't care about that, but you already know what you love about your house. What we care about is what they're going to object to. So when people come into your home and they are upset about the color of the paint in the family room, would you rather know that up front or would you rather know that after the first showing?
Right up front, yeah.
So up front, we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Then we talk about some suggestions on how we can really never have to hear the complaining in the event if we take care of everything.
Get ahead of it.
So simple stuff. One thing I have to say about the battle plan is there's a lot of items that are recurring regardless of who you are. And if you were the realtor, you were doing a listing presentation at my house, you and I would have a lot of common problems, right? Like we all need to declutter just a little bit. We all need to clean those surfaces off just a little bit. We all could put a touch-up clean on our house before we do a professional photo shoot. So when you look at the items, don't let it freak you out or anything like that. And realize that most of them are pretty common, no matter what the price point is, neighborhood, or anything like that. But at least you know what's coming your way when the time comes.
Makes sense.
So from here, we're gonna break. We're gonna head out room by room. I want you to tell me what you love room by room, the repairs that you've been talking about making for like 10 years that you haven't made yet.
Yep.
Probably more than that though, Andy. I wanna know what you don't like about your house.
All right.
And what we'll try to do is we'll try to find ways to take care of it, not spending a ton of money so that we can get a true return on the investment, if that sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, let's take a look. I will have my notepad. I will have my iPad with me too. Going to be taking some pictures and some notes,
That'll work.
but they're not the official pictures, so no worries.
Okay.
All right, man. Thanks for your time.
Uh-huh.